PK52, the Saturday morning meeting. This is a wrap-up and the third part of presentation skills. So let me review the first two sessions. We talked about being able to slow the pace of your presentation down, which is virtually impossible. I mean, you have to train yourself to do this. But once again, because somebody may have not watched the first two, when I say something, I'm prepared to say that. I've practiced. I know what I'm talking about. I'm an expert on the product or whatever I'm communicating on. I'm an expert. So I'm going to tell you. The problem is the person I tell has to hear me. Well, there's a lot of things that can distract you from hearing me. So that's hurdle number one. Number two, once they do hear me, then they've got to process it to make sure they think, is it right? Am I telling the truth or not? Am I all right? Or do they have a question? So they have to hear me, then they have to make sure they understand me, and then they have to process and say, am I right or wrong? And then, I could have already been 3 steps ahead of them because I'm going boom, 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 very quick. The easiest way to do this is reduce the amount of things that you say or say the same thing over and over again. Remember, we talked about this in the first two sessions, how do commercials work, how do commercials work, how do commercials work. Just because I've talked to you about blind spot monitor, if I was going to do a product feature presentation, I'm not only going to tell you about blind spot monitor, then I'm going to tell you how the blind spot monitor works. Then I'm going to tell you in a real world example, maybe something I was experiencing this myself. I was driving, a motorcycle came up beside me, and I didn't see the motorcycle, and I looked up and my light was on, and I looked again, there was the motorcycle. I don't know what would have happened. And so what I've done is I've repeated it multiple times in multiple ways, and now they're going like, wow, that's a feature that I'd really like to have. So it's all about being able to increase your ability to present. I talked earlier that I don't like the word close anymore, but old school, I brought this up. The hardest thing when you're making a policy or a practice technique is to come up with the acronym. So the close technique. I need to re-educate it, be the education technique. But let me show you what it means. Cover the feature, let the customer do it, observe the reaction, sell the benefit, and elicit the response. What I mean by C, cover the feature, is if I was showing the blind spot monitor, I'd go, this is your blind spot monitor. So nobody has any confusion. I'm not halfway through my presentation, but I guess he's talking about the blind spot monitor. And that happens all the time. How many times have you been watching a commercial on TV and realize you're almost at the end of the commercial and you have no idea what the product is? I think that's a failure. So before I ever start, this is your vehicle stability control. This is your vehicle. Now it's equipped with a twin turbo iForce Max V6. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to talk about. In the customer's mind, let me show you how this works. They're going, well, I guess this fine gentleman is going to be talking about the blind spot monitor. And they're exactly right. And then the L, I guess if there's the biggest letter up there would be the L, let the customer do it. Too many times we get excited to present something, so I move the seat. I open the trunk. I open the hood. I show them how to program the radio. I've got my hands all over what is about to be theirs. Back your hands away. Get your hands off. If you want to show them how to pair the phone, don't touch it. Have them do it. Doesn't matter how long it takes. Be patient and let them do it. If they're going to do a memory seat, have them set the seat. Have them set it on number 1 or number 2, whichever they want. Have them do it. Don't go, let me show you how to do this and program it. Get your hands off of their merchandise. Slow down. Let them do it. Remember, some people learn kinesthetically. They have to touch it. And a lot of people are visual. And if they're doing it themselves, they understand it. How many customers leave a dealership after you've completely told them how everything works because you told them and you did it, and they have no idea what you've done because you never let them put their hands on it. They need to be able to do it themselves. So again, that seems like, wow, Casey, that will take forever. Then you have to be smart. You have to realize that you don't need to say everything you know every time. You need to talk about the things that are most important to them. O, the big round O, is observe the reaction. I put that in there because without talking, when I'm not speaking, I'm watching. If they're doing something and they look up at me and I could tell they really like this, I call it they dig it, then I'm going to add more to it. I'm going to keep going because I've nailed it. I'm on something they really care about. Could be safety for their child. Could be the gas mileage. If it's an electrified car, could be tell them how the electrified car with the gasoline engine, the hybrid would be the best way to go. It doesn't matter what it is. If I find out, if I'm watching them and I realize, whoo, they're on this, they love this, then I can keep adding. Or I can have a conversation. I can stop what I'm doing and we just have a general conversation about it. But on the flip side of this, on the other side of that coin, I look at them and they're starting to look around. Well, I'm droning on about something that I feel is way important. And they're looking at me glazed over going like, dude, I could care less about what you're talking about right now. So when somebody says to have a 7-position walk around, I adamantly disagree with that. The positional walk around should be the highlights and high points of what they value. That means that each walk around could be different for each customer. So then we go to sell the benefit. So in sell the benefit, to me, that's just using the you said. So I come back and I said, you said you drive in traffic all the time. So the blind spot monitor would be something that would be important to you. So I'm coming back and I'm using their own words for the benefit. The benefit starts with you said. I believe earlier we were talking about and you agreed. You said. So is that a little bit of a manipulation? I don't know. Reading something out of a book to somebody, I don't know is good. But talking about something they know already has value to them is a professional. If you're willing to listen enough and to encourage them to get what they want, you're doing a service. And the last is, because I needed an E, it's elicit the response. Or ask them, is this something you want? And could it be cool, huh? And if the customer comes back and goes, that's really cool. Could that be the E? So let me go through it again. Cover the feature. Stop, slow down, tell them what you're about to do. Make sure they know what you're about to do. Let the customer do it. If possible, let them do all the action. Let them get their hands and their mind involved in this because cars are complicated now. O, shut up long enough that you can watch to see whether they're digging it or whether they could care less about it. S, sell them what they came to buy. Listen long enough to know this is what's most important to them. And the last thing is, confirm it. Is this important to you? Yes, it is. Great. And so at the end, what you've done is you've dealt with them the way they process. I don't want to make this too long. You could take any feature on any product. Doesn't matter what you sell. Any feature on any product. And write it down. I'm going to start with this. That's how I'm going to let them get involved. I'm going to watch. That's what I'm going to say. And then I'm going to ask them if they like it. So blind spot monitor, I'll write on top of the page. Blind spot monitor, CLOSE, write it out. You're not going to do this. I understand you're not going to do this. I can't make you do anything. But if there are 5, 10, 15 items on the product you sell right now that are phenomenal, that you're going like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Why would you not take a piece of paper and practice? Remember, if you were standing in front of a group of people, you'd write down what you were going to say and you would practice what you were going to say. You would probably take notes up to the podium so that you could flip through your notes, or somebody has a teleprompter. Well, the funny thing about it is when you're outside showing a product or you're with a customer, you don't have a teleprompter, you don't have a podium, and you don't have notes. So practicing before you talk is important. So just to let you know, if you watch this years from now, we just watched Super Bowl 57. I promise you, at halftime, all the coaches got together and said, this is what we saw, and this is what we should change. And so it's just like that. It evolves every single day. How much are you practicing? Because major athletes practice more than they play. In the sales industry, we play a lot more than we practice. If you increase the level of your practice and your skills, then your result is always going to be bigger. The bigger you make it, the bigger it is. PK52, the Saturday morning meeting.